sort of break it down like this.
Here we go. Gang hang. Good morning. My name's Matt Baum.
I am the Internet's Joe Patrick, and as Matt Baum says, on time is on time.
On time is on time. It is Saturday morning. Happy Record Store Day to those who celebrate. I got my Ronnie James Dio Zoetrope version of The Last in Line today. When it spins, there's a demon on it that like does devil hands if you stare in one spot. It's so rad. I love it. Oh, man. So we can get into Record Store Day if you want. We got a whole gang hang thread that we set up with stuff to talk about.
We already have a request for a topic from Mr. Brian Domingos.
Absolutely. And I was just about to say, please seed the chat with anything you would like to get into, and we certainly will. In fact, why don't we start with a little Outsiders talk? I'll be the first to admit, woefully behind on that book. I read 2 issues, but I'm all for it if we want to chat about it.
I'm just a couple behind, but I did look through the most recent issue because it was a big one.
Brian?
The last issue, I guess I'm only 1 month behind. The last issue I read was the one where, no, that's this issue, right? Where they go to the land where time forgot.
Yeah, that's number 6.
Yeah. So Outsiders number 6 came out, and the blah 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 cosmic stuff, the bleed, the carrier, yada yada yada. They go to a dimension where forgotten characters go to like exist forever.
Oh, that's fun.
And
like the White Hot Room,
like Eagle. Yeah, kind of. And so like eagle-eyed readers will notice a lot of references to characters like Cave Carson. Zoriel was there, though I don't know why he would be like eternally forgotten. He was in the comics not that long ago.
Entire dimension of forgotten characters. You mean so they went to Valiant?
Hey-o. You're not wrong.
And
you're not wrong.
So they were there looking for reasons, and then the drummer, the new drummer, was looking for somebody. And from here, I'll let Brian take the wheel.
Yeah, it's a. I don't know that I want to spoil the end of it because it's definitely something that does tell you a lot about the book if you haven't been reading it. So I recommend you get caught up if you have any interest. But this is a book that had the potential to be an interesting. It's basically it's kind of like a newer version of Planetary, and the way that they are examining. It's basically 20 years later in re-examining the comics industry, like the tropes and
that's fun.
And they're doing it in a different way, and it's not a cookie cutter like really obvious thing. And you go through and you get to the end of 6, and it's sort of like it's similar to Planetary number 12, where they reveal who the fourth man is, where it's not the same thing, but all threads start to come together, and you say, "Oh, that's what this book is about."
It is a game-changing revelation for the series, I would say.
Yeah, it basically pulls all the threads that you've been kind of paying attention to, and it bundles them all together, and it says, "See, here you go," and you go, "Oh, that's what that meant. That's what that meant. That's what that meant." Like, it's a really interesting look at just how comics are and how they work, and how the mechanics of storytelling and even what stories are. Like the Bruce Wayne issue is really, or like the Batman issue, where they kind of go through what's almost, it's like like a psychic bat mansion kind of thing, where they look at the different types of what it means to be Batman and how this works. And
that's fun.
And that it's a really, really niche thing. Like, it's not for everybody, but I think Planetary is kind of the same way. Like, if you don't care about
definitely
story, you're not going to care. Like the art's really pretty, but like who's writing this again?
Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing.
Oh, okay.
They're wonderful, by the way. I love those.
I
Two.
remember reading the first issue, but I fell off because I forget to open that app.
It's really good.
I would say, JD, that this series in general and this issue in particular would be of specific interest to you.
Cool.
No,
So if you
spoilers.
that has any affinity for Planetary whatsoever, you should probably be reading The Outsiders.
I do, because Planetary is my favorite comic book ever. So
there you go.
So
you should read it.
Being here is why I don't want to talk about the specifics, but it's
right.
Like they get into they use the snowflake as a way to look at multiversal stuff, which it's everywhere. It's Planetary, but it's also the Marvel movies, and it's everything. Yeah. So it's them really just kind of digging into that, and every issue is them chipping away at a thing. Like there's a Century Baby issue,
nice, where
it's not them just doing something you've seen before. It's kind of them updating it, and comics are sick. They're secular, and so you see us, and you see the way these things work, and it's a really fun examination of these things. And I actually read a bootleg copy. I have my printed copy number 6 is in my hand right now, but I read it because I didn't want to get spoiled. But
I think you did the right thing.
Yeah, because I would have been. And so now, my
JD, I recommend the same.
What are these bootlegged comics you speak of?
Listen, in theory,
there's a guy on the side of the road
hypothetically.
Hey kid, you want to read a comic book? You're like,
that's exactly it.
I mean, sure.
But yeah, so I mean, anything, JD, if you haven't seen it at this point, you probably won't. But don't go looking for it. I think I think the app the DC app, I think has at least the first 4 issues so far.
They update on the 3-month timetable, don't they? Now
they're pretty quick, So there's a bunch in there.
Depends on if you get the hyper. It depends on if you pay.
Oh right, you have to have the double plus good edition.
I have the double plus good, obviously, and that's a month. That's
the
1
good
month behind.
The good.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. And I think if you're trying to keep up with a lot of stuff, it's not that much. I think it's, I don't know, maybe $20 more, and it's $4 to $5 an issue. Like $20 over the year is not that much money,
No.
And the ultra suede edition comes with all the Vertigo stuff, which I don't think is included in the lower tier.
Yeah, I read 2 DC books right now. So I read The Outsiders, which I read like the first issue, and I read World's Finest, and that's it.
Oh wow.
Oh, you should be reading Birds of Prey too, because
read World's Finest? As somebody who is not a DC person, you read World's Finest every month?
Anybody can pick up World's Finest. It's like it's a blast.
It's so steeped in old guy DC stuff.
It is, but it's also surprised. Like not like it is in a sense where it's like it's there, but the casual reader could still read it and be like, "That's weird and fun." Yeah,
It is the first DC comic book I picked up that reminds me of Justice League Unlimited more than anything else.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Absolutely.
But to before we stray too far, but to Brian's to echo what Brian said, you should also be reading Birds of Prey. It's written by your girlfriend Kelly Thompson.
It's so good.
And
so good.
It's you don't need to know anything about anything. Like you need to know who the characters are. Like you've heard of Harley Quinn. Okay, you're good.
I think I read the first issue.
I think the biggest ask of a reader is to know who a character is from Gotham Academy, which I mean, big deal. They'll fill you in as you go,
and they just tell you can learn as much or as little as you'd like.
But Planetary,
actually, the biggest question mark for me is Big Barda, because I just don't know much about that New God stuff.
You don't need to.
Well, I mean,
you really
need to know about Big Barda is that she's one of the New Gods.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
and the more you dig into the New Gods, the more you're going to be like, oh shit, the New Gods don't make any sense.
Yeah. I wouldn't go down that rabbit hole. I would just be content in your ignorance and. The level of knowledge you have about Big Barda is sufficient for that book.
You'll be fine.
But Outsiders is a must read for Planetary fans, I would say.
Definitely.
I keep meaning to get back to it, and then I just that app, I just forget to open that app.
I think it's safe to say that our recommendation is for you to make it a priority, at least until you get to the current issue.
Right.
You just need to find some more DC books to read, so you'll be there more often.
There you go.
That's all.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I mean, hey, you know what? Nightwing is very
That's
good.
a big ask.
Yeah,
That's a big ask.
Nightwing is excellent, JD. It is
Nightwing's very good,
excellent.
and all you need to know is that who Dick Grayson is,
Yeah.
and that's literally the only thing you really need.
And it's
to
like,
know.
what if Batman was in a good mood for a change? That's basically
I thought Nightwing's name was Rick Grayson.
That
and he was a taxi driver
for a minute there with an accent.
No, we got over that.
Yeah,
He's feeling much better.
I'm kidding.
yeah.
I know enough from you guys to know that that's a.
Like
that's a
you've
good
heard
novel.
of Dick Grayson, you've heard of Barbara Gordon. You're good to go on
Yeah,
Nightwing.
don't go
That's
far
really all
back.
you need.
You don't need to go that far back to it's just
Yeah, you don't need to go. If you see a yellow cab, you've gone too far.
yeah.
Yeah, I pulled the first Chuck Dixon Scott McDaniel trade off the shelf the other night and was like, you know what, having a great time.
It's still great. It's still
I mean,
great.
it's still an all-time favorite. I
Yeah,
think.
that's like one of my all-time favorite runs of comics, right? Like, and even revisiting that back in the day, even I remember at first looking at that art, and my brain was like, "Do we like this? You know, like Matt, really?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I think I do." Like,
Yes,
it's so
the answer is
weird.
yes.
But it was so
Yeah,
weird
100%.
compared to what
I
other
think that-
people were drawing and the way the other Bat books looked at the time. It
At
looked
the time,
nothing like them. I mean,
I think that not that it's quite as psychedelic, but I think that Scott McDaniel kind of occupies a similar place in terms of like abstract,
yeah, absolutely.
representation on the page as somebody like Christian Ward,
Larry
who
Stroman
does a lot of like trippy kind of like blobs floating in the air and weird kind of stuff going on the panel that's not necessarily germane to the action of the panel. Like Scott McDaniel filled those panels full of all sorts of crazy nonsense.
Oh yeah, it was like Larry Stroman for me, and I think that's why Scott McDaniel got me.
Larry Stroman,
Because I loved Larry Stroman so much.
Howard Porter, especially current day Howard Porter.
Definitely,
you know,
definitely. But like the martial arts depicted,
anyway.
the martial arts action depicted by Scott McDaniel is just unstoppably kick ass. And it is hard to make martial arts look good in comics. You know,
I am going to spoil one small thing about Outsiders that nobody will care about except for Matt, maybe. But one of the characters in The Land That Time Forgot is Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter.
I love Richard Dragon,
which I thought was very fun.
Oh, I love Richard Dragon so much. Such an underused character. He's wonderful.
All right, what's next?
We got all kinds of stuff to talk about.
There was a Marvel rumor that I read just before we hopped on that I don't know how to feel about it, and I didn't read too much into it because I think it's fandom.com or Comics Alliance. I don't know, one of those dazzling publications.
Knocking it out of the park as usual with their deep investigative journalism.
But I guess there's a rumor that Avengers 5 is going to be directed by Christopher Nolan.
Get that. No way.
No.
Get the fuck out of here.
No.
Give me a break.
No.
I don't know if I
Thanks,
want
AI.
that. I mean, to be
100%
perfectly
not
honest,
going to happen.
well, not only that, but I mean, is that even something we would want?
No.
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 Here's why he.
It was Screen Rant, JD. I found your
Okay,
post.
thank you.
Screen Rant, famous for their AI reporting.
No, I didn't post it.
Sorry, Ian, you were saying.
Oh, you
Hold on.
Here's what that's not gonna happen.
this is the thing you posted about Taylor Swift. Internet thinks Taylor Swift confirmed her role in the MCU.
Hold on, Ian, what were you going to say?
Which I do want that. I do want her as Dazzler. That would be fun.
The story behind Oppenheimer getting made is Christopher Nolan basically told Warner Brothers to screw off, had a huge bidding war for the rights to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So there was a lot riding on this movie. Movie almost hits $1 billion, wins every award. Christopher Nolan has the biggest blank check in Hollywood right now.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way with him going like, I can do whatever movie I want.
Yeah.
He's going to go, let me go back to the superhero genre.
Right.
Like a genre he's already kind of conquered. Like he's not going to do that. Like I can guarantee you that's 100% not going to happen.
The guy that made the fucking Godfather can't get his pet project off the ground because studios are like, I don't know, Francis.
Not to mention Nolan was like,
this movie is a little too crazy.
when
Francis.
he finished Batman, he was like, thanks, Warner Brothers. I'm good. You know, like I'm going to do my thing. And now he's going to be like, well, you know who would give me a lot of creative freedom? Disney. Disney, definitely. Yeah.
Right.
They'll loosen up. Yeah. Like, no,
I think the reason I bring up the story is not so much for the plausibility of it, but just because I'm kind of like a little butthurt over the story, because the overall tone of the article that I read was that not only is Christopher Nolan going to direct Avengers 5, but it's the only thing that's going to save the MCU.
Oh, yes. That also sucks too, yeah.
So now something that I read, a little headline that I read that I will agree is plausible, is that the kid that's playing the Human Torch from Stranger Things, whose real name I'm blanking on, he said that Fantastic Four will reinvigorate people's interest in the MCU.
He said that?
And I think that is potentially...
What a prediction!
Well, I mean, look,
I know, that's kind of a
look. I understand.
What
I'm not
if
saying,
this, one of the stars was like,
come out.
"Oh, I wouldn't hold your breath for this one, guys."
But nobody's. Yeah, well, I know. I understand. Nobody's going to come out here and say, "Oh, I don't think that."
X-Men 97 has reinvigorated the MCU, in my opinion.
No doubt.
Sure. I think, I understand that no one's going to come out here and go, don't hold your breath about my upcoming movie. But to call your shot like that, whoever's blowing their nose might want to mute your microphone. For somebody to come out and call their shot like that, I don't know if I've ever.
Joe, they do this on the regular.
That?
They do this on the regular. Everyone,
I don't know,
constantly comes out and goes, "This is the movie that it's going to be the big." If you're in the DC side, it's going to be bigger than Dark Knight. It's the biggest thing it's ever. And everybody, they all do. They're all like, "Oh, I'm so excited!" Like you're contractually obligated to come out and be like, "Oh, I'm so." The Madam Web people were like, "Oh, it's going to be so great."
Again. You know? Please follow my train of thought here. I'm not saying that it's not common practice to hype your own project.
Sure.
I'm saying that that's a statement that I could believe will be true.
I'm sure.
Because I think that the Fantastic Four movie it looks like it's going to offer something completely different than what we've seen in terms of tone and maybe even scope,
based off
and hype.
What people are saying about a movie that hasn't started shooting?
I think I speak for the community at large when I say the only hope of revitalizing Marvel is the Deadpool popcorn bucket.
I'm agreed. In complete agreement. Yes. With love openings. Yes.
Yeah, with love. No, Matt, I'm not making any claims about the quality of the Fantastic Four movie. I'm saying from everything they're sharing so far makes it look like a complete departure from the cookie cutter CGI garbage that we've gotten in the last few years.
I mean, I hope so.
I think that Fantastic, and also people have been waiting for the Fantastic Four to finally show up.
Sure.
And I think that could be true. That movie could reinvigorate people's interest in the MCU.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
If it's bad, then it'll have the opposite effect. But
between Fantastic Four and X-Men, because of the success of X-Men 97, which I did just see, it's complete speculation, but I did see a really good fan casting of Nightcrawler that I really loved.
Who?
Cal Penn.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Or
yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Fight the
guy who
urge.
just did Monkey Man.
Dev Patel.
Oh, Dev Patel.
I saw that
Dev
as well.
Patel, yeah, Dev Patel. Yes, I want Dev Patel as Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
that
just
would
fight
be
the urge to go full
But,
German. Just fight that urge. You know, like God.
I
you know, I can't
my
handle it.
instinct is to argue that being German is so
like stop.
Actually, my Fräulein.
I feel like Dev Patel could do a German accent. If you make it blue, he could be any.
I'm not saying don't do a German accent. I'm just saying take the German accent from a 10 to a 4. You know, just a little bit. Like, oh, he is from Germany. God, you're not the
believer. My instinct is to say that Nightcrawler's German heritage is integral to his character, but honestly, it really isn't.
No.
He could be from anywhere, and I don't think they're going to cast a Dev Patel and then have him portray a different.
I have friends from
race.
Germany that don't sound like the little kid in The Simpsons that was addicted to chocolate, the exchange student, you know? I begged you to look at my project first.
There are Indian people who live in Germany, so if they want to go that route,
that's true too.
Well, certainly, that's true too. But I mean, he was like raised by the circus by gypsies. I mean,
he was.
That's a whole.
He was technically Romani, so
Romani.
You know.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So let's talk X-Men for a second here, because this week we learned that the reason Kamala Kahn was killed in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man was because Kevin Feige walked into the office and turned his hat backwards and went, I got a crazy idea for you guys. Let's kill Kamala Kahn and make her a mutant so she can be more in line with stuff that we're going to do. She's going to be on this X-Men team. And look, I like Kamala Kahn. I like the actress, and I've liked her portrayal and all this stuff. Don't need her on my first X-Men team. I really don't.
She's not going to be on the X-Men. No way.
Nerd bet. I'll take it right
now.
She
will be eventually. Yeah.
Nerd bet.
They're doing the Young Avengers. She's not going to be on the X-Men.
Oh, this is true. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
So they've already started teasing the Young Avengers. They had a post-credit scene and everything.
I'm not saying Young Avengers doesn't come before this X-Men movie. Maybe it does. But she's going to be on that X-Men.
Kamala Kahn is not going to be an X-Men.
Why are we making her a mutant
right now?
Why are we making her a mutant? Shits and giggles?
Because it's easy. Because making her an Inhuman would have been a huge mistake.
They did not want the Inhumans in any shape or form.
They didn't want that stank anywhere near.
Sure, but you could have made her Space Genie or whatever. She's already related to that stuff, right? I mean, come on.
That's true. That they really could have just left her origin, and they could have just left her with pre-origin.
She's part Space Genie.
Let her powers be pre-origin.
Yeah, there's no reason to make her a mutant unless you're going to put her on the X-Men, Joe. There is no reason.
I think that they're going to do some cross-pollination.
I don't agree. I think that there are lots of mutant characters in the Marvel universe that aren't X-Men, and
sure, I don't disagree with that, but we're not going to get that in the movies right away. They're not going to be like,
and we're not going to get Ms. Marvel in the X-Men. She's already tied to be in the next. She's already tied to one major franchise. They are not going to put her.
I mean,
on
look,
the
if Farrell and Random show up in Captain America 4, I'll agree with you, but I kind of doubt it.
No.
Oh, that would be awesome. No, sorry. No, I think they made her a mutant because they wanted to say the word mutant in the MCU to plant the seed, to make the nerds froth at the mouth.
I agree with you 100%.
To keep things moving and to, kind of stave off the speculation that the mutants are never happening or that the X-Men are never going to happen. So they need to keep planting the seeds. They need to keep the breadcrumbs going to keep us talking about it. Because when you to be in the X-Men or not, I mean, I still think the X-Men, when they hit the MCU, are going to be the X-Men 97 team, something similar to that. I think that's going to happen. I think that probably there will probably be. She will be in the movie.
I just put it on a nerd bet. I just put it in a nerd bet. She is going to be on that team. Look, and Damon knows about this.
My idea,
wrestling rules.
My thought is that they're going to bring her in as the character who's torn between the Avengers and the X-Men.
Oh, sure,
I can see that.
Sure,
heritage, and because those two groups are going to have a lot of friction. And she's going to be stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
I think that's
because they're going to be like, you're one of us. You're an X-Man.
That's a good story.
I was a young Avenger first or whatever. And she's going to be there, though. No question. When they give you something like
that's not what you said, Matt.
She's going to be on the team.
She's going to be on the team.
Yes, I'm saying it. She's going to be on the team. Yes, and she will also be an Avenger, and she'll be tied between both teams. You watch. This is wrestling rules. When they tell you something, believe it.
It's not wrestling rules, Matt. It's called Chekhov's gun. If you see a mutant early in the story, that mutant's going to come into play later on in the story. It's way older than wrestling, but I understand. I understand.
Matt, let me put it this way for you.
No, I don't agree.
Keep your mind at ease. If she's in the X-Men movie, it means we won't have Jubilee.
Yeah, you know what?
That's true.
I'll take it. I'll take that.
You know what? I think that they'll only have Jubilee if she's a vampire.
There you go.
If she's also a vampire.
Yeah.
A vampire
I am
a vampire mother.
I just love
God, I
teasing
hope
Matt
so.
over all the characters he hates.
Does she
That's
have
so
a
much
baby?
fun.
Does Jubilee still
I
have
am
a baby?
Jubilee fan, so.
Is Jubilee's kid out
Well,
there
the baby
somewhere?
turned
Baby.
into a dragon whenever they went to Otherworld, and so
Right,
I don't
that's right.
I don't remember the status of the baby.
Exhausting.
I can't remember if they left him there to be a dragon full time or not.
Exhausting.
Yeah, I don't know. I stopped reading that part of the. I just couldn't. I can't
'cause they stopped
handle
publishing it.
Otherworld. I hate it so much.
See, now I will be the first to admit that I
yeah.
loved it back
It's
in
less
the
fun to
day.
tease you about that.
I loved
I think-
Saturnine and I loved that Otherworld shit and I loved all the Camelot crap. I loved it. And now I feel like maybe when I was younger I took too much and I built up an allergy or something, you know?
Listen to this. Listen to this guy
now
backtracking.
I get like anaphylactic when it comes up again, like, oh, fuck. Like,
See, I'm
no.
the opposite. I mean, they brought in Mad Jim Jaspers, and I was eating it up with a spoon, and I loved every minute of it.
I'm not saying
love
it.
calling mutants witch breed and that whole thing.
I
That
the
was great.
idea, I still love it.
Oh yeah,
Gene
Jamie
Howard's entire run was
Braddock's
great.
kicking around.
Yeah, I love the.
Yep,
it's just
Jamie
the
Braddock
execution is
is-
what kills me. The execution's what kills me. You know, like I love the idea.
Captain Albion.
It just doesn't work anymore.
Brian Braddock is Captain Albion. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
He'll always be Captain
And his
Britain to me,
costume's
but
badass too.
I do like the costume. The costume's cool, but he'll always be Captain Britain to me.
Yeah, with the black and gold on top of the red, white, and blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
hot.
just don't understand. Like, there's a whole Captain Britain Corps. I'm not sure why his sister couldn't also be Captain Britain, but
Because the Captain Britain Corps is always one person, and it's all variations of the one person.
right.
oh, is
The
that
entire
true?
Captain
Yes.
Britain Corps, when the entire Captain Britain Corps, when Brian was Captain Britain, was all variations on Brian.
They were all Brian.
Does that mean
Braddock.
they're all Betsy's now?
Yeah, they're all Betsy.
Right now they're all Betsy's. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Everybody's a different version of like a type of Spider-Man, but it's
But they're not
one
all Peter
person.
Parkers, though.
Yeah, it'd be like
Yeah,
they
but
would
they're not
all be Peter
Parker in
Parkers.
that. No, the Captain Britain Corps, they were all Brian
Right.
before. Even
All right,
the Dinosaur
I did
was
not
a-
know that.
was
I
a
did not know
Brian.
that. So
Yeah,
What was it? I
yeah.
believe.
There's only
okay.
ever one Captain Britain.
I believe that's where we got Britannic. It was a different Brian Braddock. It wasn't our Brian Braddock. I think Britannic was a different dude.
oh, is that what? Was he a different dude?
No, Britannic was Brian Britton. It was Brian Braddock when he had come back from the time stream and was no longer Captain Britain.
No,
he
but
still
didn't we find out it was
powers, but he
not the same
serving
dude,
the
though?
office.
But we found out it wasn't the same dude.
No, we didn't.
Didn't we? Yeah, later on
I'd have to reread that. I don't think that's true.
Only Harvey Locust knows for sure.
You
He's
don't
an
wanna reread
Excalibur
that.
super fan.
Yeah.
Let's not pull on that thread because it's
You don't want to, and
not
you don't want to
interesting.
reread that shit.
it is not something anyone else here wants to discuss. So,
All right, what do we?
Well, we just covered that in Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men like a couple of months ago. So
oh,
I
there
was
you
like,
go.
That's why. Yeah, it was fresh on my mind.
So I watched episodes 3 and 4 of Fallout, and that show continues to be
It's excellent.
phenomenal. It is.
Oh,
it is
amazing.
good on a level. Like The Last of Us was great, right? And I love it very much. But Fallout is great, and also it's fun.
Yes. Very,
And-
very, very fun.
And so Damon said something in the Discord just this morning, I believe,
Yep.
that Fallout, he's ready to proclaim Fallout the greatest video game adaptation ever, and I think I agree.
Yeah. I mean, how many other like properties can you come to mind what they did and
Well-
the amount of respect they have for their source material?
Very short
It's like,
list.
it's like,
We go
Dude,
right.
like the Mortal Kombat movie doesn't exist.
oh, and I love that movie, but they did a few things in that movie that even
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I know,
I'm sorry.
I know.
Dude,
So I'm really
bad.
I'm really partial to animation, so it's hard to beat Castlevania.
yeah.
Oh, you know what?
It was-
Live
I
action.
watched the
Live
whole-
action.
I watched the whole
I'll
Fallout
give that.
series. Yeah,
I'll give that caveat. I'll say live action video
Because
game.
I did
adaptation.
love Castlevania.
Castlevania was
as well.
Because-
That
yeah.
was all-
Outstanding.
And there have been lots of excellent like animated versions of video game stuff. Ian, you were gonna say something.
but no, I ended up watching the whole Fallout series in like 2 days, and I did not plan on watching that much TV.
It's great.
Ended up being really good.
Yeah, it's great. We are now in a
It is
golden
so
age
good.
of video game adaptations. Superhero movies are dead.
I was going
It's
to
all
say
video
that
games.
we're swinging back to Nolan again. Jonathan Nolan, Lisa Joy, the people behind Westworld are the people responsible for Fallout.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing
I
have
hope
to say
it
about
doesn't fall apart after the
Right.
second season.
That's what I was going to say. But I want to say this, though. I'm hopeful, though. Westworld, they were playing with too many, big mind concepts that was bound to fall apart.
Yeah.
Well, and also
seems pretty
Westworld was a 2-hour movie in the 1970s. There's lots of Fallout lore.
Yeah.
You've
And I
already
think
got
that-
the content.
Right, and I don't want to spoil the ending, but people who are watching knows what I'm saying. There seems to be clear path of what's going to happen next, and I don't anticipate a Westworld type of Fallout. No pun intended. Because at the end of the day, they have protagonists who you care about. The story is simple but also expanding at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's also a good sign.
It's also a good
It's
sign
not
that
going to get lost in its own lore.
It's also a good sign the people that made the Westworld mistake are making it, because they can look back and go, okay, all we have to do is not do that, and we'll be okay.
So I'll say that someone who finds himself regularly not being excited by things, by TVs and movies related to pop culture, I will say that the last 10-15 minutes of the last episode of Fallout was. I was absolutely electrified. I was laughing. I was clapping. It's the first time I've been that excited by something in this kind of area in a long time. Also, I will not stand for any Westworld hate. It is one of the best TV shows of all time. And the reason people don't like it is it's
Look, seasons 1 and 2.
That's fair.
Seasons
fair.
1 and 2.
That is
wonderful. But then when they made the conscious decision, they're like, hey, the most interesting part of this show? Let's not talk about that anymore.
Yeah. I don't want to say without
the
spoiling.
show has nothing to do with Westworld. The most interesting part of the show is the relationship of humanity's trying to touch the internet and failing.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Yes,
It got into
and
2001 territory after a while. I was just like, whoa, what the hell?
But once we left Westworld, and you introduced these awesome, it was like, oh, there's a samurai world and shit. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, no, let's go into generic future and get into politics. Like,
So listen, I don't want to turn this all into like a Westworld thing, but like the season 3 is the best realization of like, I don't know. Season 3 with Aaron Paul is amazing, and it takes like a whole kind of way past late stage capitalism, going almost into like some sort of science fiction Grand Theft Auto level story. I think it's tremendous.
I don't disagree.
Listen, Bill Shakespeare, all I want to do is watch a show about cowboy sex robots, okay?
Ian, I do not disagree with that.
I can't fault you for that.
I don't disagree with you at all. It's just you already set up this other thing that was so great, and there was so much more to do with. And the
park wasn't sustainable.
They tunneled into something else that I was just like, okay. I mean, like, this is good, but ultimately by season 4, I was like, I'm just tired. I'm a little exhausted.
And I totally get that they wanted to tell that story, but I do think that it would have been cool. And I understand we're talking about prestige TV with huge budgets and not limited episode time to get this stuff done. They teased us with the idea of the alternate parks, and then we didn't really spend any time in the alternate parks. And I would have loved. I would have loved to have seen, Samurai World or Undersea World or whatever.
Shogun. Blackthorn is definitely a park guy. Everyone else is cyber.
Yeah, it's Westworld. That's going to be the big twist at the end of that series.
At the end of Shogun?
Oh my God.
They're going to put a real twist on the original novel. You did not see coming.
Hey, speaking of streaming TV, next week is anybody going to watch Dead Boy Detectives?
Yes.
I'm going to check it out. I'm definitely going to check it out.
100%.
I think it looks amazing. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
It comes out next week? Friday?
No, I think it's like the 23rd, 24th.
So that's
what's today?
Oh, that's a few days. Yeah. That's like on Tuesday or so.
It's like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday, I think.
Oh, shit.
Or Thursday.
That is spin-off from, what was that in?
From Doom Patrol, technically, but it is based off of the comic book.
Oh.
And actually, no, it's first
episode April
because
5th.
Sandman. But
it's technically a Sandman spinoff because Death is the only other existing character that shows up in it. Yes, there were tangential links to Dead Boy Detectives and Doom Patrol, but because Warner said that they don't want to distribute the show anymore, they took all the references to Doom Patrol out.
And they went a whole other angle with it too, in terms of
it was a different,
stuff in the trailer.
So like the Dead Boy Detectives appear
in
Doom Patrol, but this is a completely different. This is a Sandman. This is a proper Sandman spin-off take. Yeah, and to answer your question, original question, Frank, is that the Dead Boy Detectives were characters from the comic, the Sandman comic. So they're kind of restoring it, I guess, to its original.
Okay.
Yeah,
its
Kirby
original
Howell
state.
Kirby Howell Baptiste, the actor that plays Death, is appearing in at least one of the episodes, because their whole shtick is that they're dead and they're escaping death to stay on Earth and solve mysteries.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds.
But she's also got kind of like a sweet spot for him, which
is
also
exactly. Yeah, she's not an adversary per se. They are fearful of her, but she's not exactly an adversary.
I mean, she's got a job to do, but
exactly.
I mean, it's hard to be afraid of that version of Death. I mean, she's just adorable.
True.
I mean, it's true, but also like the people that know, like they don't mess with her. Like,
well, but I mean, I think that was also, I think that was kind of Neil Gaiman's point, is that like Death is not something to fear. Death is not a monster.
Right.
She also has 6 siblings that are terrifying.
Yes.
Right. All except for Delirium, all of the other members of the Endless are much scarier.
Yeah.
Are we ever getting
and I guess Destruction, who ended up being a big softie in the end, but he quit his job. So.
Right. I'm gonna say, like, he's a teddy bear. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean, when he was doing the work.
Yeah. I mean, then he quit, and then that was it.
And we still have like no news on when Sandman season 2 drops. It started filming.
Unfortunately.
Cool. Great.
I mean, it's happening though, and these streaming shows take a long time to make. So
they started filming. It says here back in November last year. So.
In the meantime, we have Dead Boy Detectives, and it looks really, really good.
It does look like fun. I'm excited for that.
They had to push back.
It's got that BBC feel to it that I'm digging on.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely has that presentation.
There is something about all these stories where it should be kind of British, right?
Hey, everybody, pipe down for 1 second. Frank, are you talking to us?
I was.
Because you are very, very
now.
quiet.
Your
mic is like.
So my mic last week, my mic too hot. Now it's too cool. But all right, I did some adjusting on it. Is that better?
Well, put it back in the same room.
Improved. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the same room.
So what were you saying, Frank?
I was just saying, the same thing happened with Strange New Worlds. They had to push it back to 2025 because of the writer's strike. It was supposed to come out mid.
That's a good point.
Late 2024, like September, and then they had to go and push it back because it was, they only started filming it like a month ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah, we are in that weird.
Because we saw him.
We're in that weird window.
His hair done.
We're in that window of like where now the movies have restarted, but we're in this blank spot, like where we're getting stuff that was filmed in other countries, or like animated stuff that they could do in other countries and stuff like that. But like, and you will get in trouble for working over there, doing voice work, like Transformers 1.
Speaking of real quick diversion, I guess. Speaking of animated work, I saw a thing. I saw a headline where somebody said that Across the Spider-Verse Part 2, or whatever it's called, could come out as early as next year, which seems pretty fast for me. To me,
that's probably the maniac that's cracking the whip saying that.
Maybe.
Remember last time when some of the stuff was brought out, as great as that show was, there was some potentially questionable stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of animators that were just like, it was insane.
Anyway, that was all I had to say about that. But Transformers 1, you brought up, Matt, that trailer looks great.
It looks cute as hell. Yeah, I mean, I get it.
That looks like so much fun.
It's a kids movie, and there's a bunch of backlash from people who just like, and I get it. Like, Transformers is a hyper serious property, unless you're Jerry Bruckheimer or whatever. But like, I think it's okay that it loosens up a little bit, and we can have some fun with this stuff. I mean,
I would say the tone of it, it was kind of a mild PG-13, not PG-13 in the sense that
how dare they make a movie for kids?
I know.
No, for sure,
right?
But it wasn't like not PG-13 in the sense that like the Batman is PG-13, but PG-13 in the sense that Bumblebee wants to call himself Badassatron, so it's gonna have a little bit of a potty mouth.
I think that's still PG,
but not
buddy.
like drop. There's not going to be like you're not going to be able to find the one F-bomb that they're allowed in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, you're not gonna get like Alita 1 underboob or something.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or truck nuts on a transformer. Or
what's that?
Giant truck nuts on a transformer.
Giant. Yeah, we did that.
Too.
We did that already
Yep.
in the Michael Bay movies.
Ugh.
But yeah, Chris Hemsworth is playing Orion Pax, who is Optimus Prime. Brian Tyree Henry is playing the robot that will become Megatron.
There's a funny story about that, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this. That was actually the designation of the Megatron toy before it was a Megatron toy. When it was,
that's cool.
Yeah, so that's a little throwback there.
A little bit of history. Yeah.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
ScarJo is playing RC.
And there's precedent for them
one.
knowing each other too, right? We found an IDW comic where it's like, yeah, Megatron totally knew this dude when he was young.
Well, yeah, there was that one,
right?
Yeah, and then Keegan-Michael Key is playing the character that will become Bumblebee.
B1.
I'm just using their familiar names because that's all anybody will ever call them.
Sure.
Scarlett Johansson, by the way, is Alita 1. No RC yet.
Oh, she's not RC. Okay.
Yeah, Alita 1 was kind of the quote-unquote love interest of Orion Pax, or at least in some canon. So I guess they're going that route.
Fair enough. You know what? I have a question. How come Orion Pax seems to be the only one with an actual ass name?
I don't know. That is a good question.
The rest of them are all like numerical designations, and he's got a first name, last name.
He's special.
Yeah, and I know in the original books, or at least even in the Marvel ones, they had Orion Pax as like he was a librarian or something like that, or some archivist. I don't think there was a real reason initially. Maybe Jim, who I know, forgot the name of
Jim is here.
Yeah. If
Jim knows, Jim, now's your time to shine.
Well, I don't know. Well, for this one, I don't have a clue. But originally, if you think about it, they all had names: Orion Pax, Megatron, Bumblebee. Then he became a Prime, so he became Optimus Prime. If you see what I mean, so they've kind of messed that up.
They didn't. So the idea that the rest of them are now. Like before he became Megatron, he was whatever. That's a thing that totally, that's a
brand
new
new. The number designation. That's for this movie alone. Traditionally,
that's what I'm thinking too.
But when you become a Prime, you get like the title Prime, if you see what I mean.
Man, a guy named Megatron never really stood a chance.
There were other Transformers that had two names though. There's plenty of them. Like Fortress Maximus.
No. I mean,
Magnus.
I mean,
Fortress Maximus.
It's like, this is my son, serial killer Jones.
Oh no!
Like,
I was talking about the two name thing, not the Doctor Doom of Megatron.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you got Ultra Magnus, Omega Supreme.
Yeah.
I mean, the real answer is Bob Budiansky came up with them over a weekend, isn't it?
Well,
sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to get at. I don't know if there's a particular reasoning or whatever. It doesn't matter.
In terms of retconning, various ones, like Omega Supreme became a Supreme, and then they came up with other Supremes based on that, giant ass robots.
Yeah.
But actually, at the time, it meant absolutely nothing. It just meant,
Right. It's like Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime.
Yeah,
Hot Rod.
Cool name.
Like, there's no such thing as a Hot Rod on Cybertron, but his name is Hot Rod.
That's a great example. No,
yeah,
you're
right.
Exactly. Hot Rod, Rodimus Prime. That's the example. If you think about it that way, Hot Rod became Rodimus Prime. Orion Pax became Optimus Prime.
I knew that Prime was a title. It's just I didn't. It makes sense now that you say it, that the whole the letter number designation thing is something that they've created for this movie.
Yeah, it's just a bit fuzzy, really. Yeah, because it won't work in that continuity in a way. But but it's up to them. It looks fun. I mean,
they're also lowly dock workers and stuff. Like, these are all like working robots, so they're probably like a lesser class anyway. So you don't even need a name. You're you're TB144 or something, you know, like because you're just.
I mean, the other thing is, this movie is also seems to be put in the origin of how they even learn how to transform. At least,
I thought that was fun. That the idea that it's like a rite of passage, like you have to or you have your transformer bar mitzvah, and then you all of a sudden you can turn into a truck.
They're doing the sort of worker class thing, aren't they? Whereas it's an elitist society, so you're born with a transformation cog in you, but that gets pulled out of you at birth. Because if you look at them, they've got big gaps in their stomach where they're obviously taken out.
Yes,
and they seem to be given the transformation cogs of some ancient Cybertronians. So I think
they plug something into their guts in the trailer. I
don't think it's
they're the transformation cogs, but you see, I don't think it's their transformation cogs. It's these ancient ones. So it's going to give them inverted commas superpowers. So they're going to be better than the other robots, if you see what I mean, because they've got these ancient transformation cogs.
Yeah, and it's a class war.
For you non-English speakers, inverted comma means quotation marks.
Sorry,
air quotes.
I'm getting more English.
No. I'm just translating for these plebeians, Jim. It's okay.
I didn't get a word of that, Jim. I'll be honest.
Energon circumcision. It's their bris.
Oh, Jesus.
It's their Transformers bris.
Yeah, it's not transformation.
My wife
puberty.
Brought up a good point. Like, when she saw the trailer, it's like, oh, it's Transformers Power Rangers. It kind of is. It's just like a bunch of teenage, Cybertronians getting powers, and off they go.
It's class war stuff. And it's going to be punk. They were punks. They were working class, punks. And the rich people can transform. They learn to do something that the rich people can do, and then they go fight the power. I mean.
Yeah, pretty much.
I loved the when they first come out of the cave and they're like, oh shit, how did this work? And they're flying down the hill and Optimus or Orion Pax is like failing to turn into a truck, and Bumblebee is just like skidding down the mountain, and he's like, wheels, I need wheels, and then he smashes into a rock, and then the wheels pop out. Like, it was very funny, I thought.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I'm excited for it.
It looks fantastic. Real quick, DC update. I just pulled up the app. Outsiders 2 through 5.
Hey,
are still reading out with Ultra. Apparently, the release without Ultra is 6 months with DC.
Oh, okay, so three months. 3 months if you've got the goods. 6 months if you're on the lower tier.
Okay, I'll bet that changes. Coming soon, because Marvel's making big changes and DC's going to have to keep up. Like, Marvel announced a Comics Pro.
I mean, for right now, I'm going to say this is still evidence, in my opinion, to Lake House supremacy. So, I
wouldn't argue that. I think Marvel Unlimited also has a number of years ahead of.
Yeah,
they've had a lot of years to fail.
I am not like paying extra for this. Like, how much is Ultra?
The other part
is Comixology.
Frank wants to talk about Comixology while we're on.
Is it even still a thing?
I know it's a sore subject for some people.
Ooh,
but because
I haven't opened that app in months.
Well, they're changing it. I noticed. I opened it up recently, and it said Comixology is now going to be in the Kindle app. So the Comixology app is done, and it's going to be in the Kindle app. Now I have Audible, yet another Amazon purchase that they messed up. But Audible works now. Audible, you can browse.
Audible's
great. Actually purchase and download from that
You can buy from the app, which wasn't always the case.
I think they're letting Comixology die, personally. I don't think they make enough money on it. They don't care.
Comixology's dead.
Yeah.
But I think the Kindle is you're going to be able to buy comics off Kindle. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Probably somewhere along those lines.
You can, but you still have to buy them. You still have to buy them through the Amazon website, not through the app. Yeah. At least if you're on Google, because and that's actually a Google Play. That has nothing to do with Amazon. That's a Google thing, and it has to do with taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. All I know is that I went to buy a copy of something that we were reviewing for the show because we didn't get a review copy, and it was so difficult to get this comic.
Yeah, it's silly.
And read it. Like, I was like, Oh, okay. Or I could just go to readallcomics.com and read it for free.
I don't know what you're talking about, Joe. I don't know. I have no idea what their website you're just mentioning. You're even talking about, Joe.
It's out there. Hey, you know what?
Shut the fuck up,
Jason,
Joe.
Jason Sachs recommended it to the person who was asking about EC Comics.
No, but I mean, it's the truth, though. They pretend like you can't just Google, hey, I want to read that, and here it is for free. Let's make it super hard.
Why can't I click one button and then immediately open that comic?
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. It's a big part of why I returned to like going to my local comic book shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like it's so frustrating. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was looking for alternatives to Comixology, and through another podcast, I heard an ad for something called omnibus.com. They only have an iPad app. Not even an iPhone app, iPad app only.
Okay, well, if you're reading comics on your iPhone, you're kind of a psychopath, you know? Like,
well, yeah, but I mean, but you know, they keep saying that, like, they said, like, omnibus.com is a new marketplace to buy and read digital comics. They just now added a browser reader to go along with their iPad app, iPhone and Android to come, and that has been for 6 months.
Yeah.
That is just asinine and stupid. It's just, to me, it's
but
like,
you know what?
why is
Even Marvel
technology so
Unlimited.
hard?
Marvel Unlimited doesn't have a browser.
No.
You can't read your Marvel Unlimited through your browser either, which is stupid.
You have to be on a tablet.
Yeah, you can.
Marvel Unlimited?
Yeah.
Really?
Then that might be something that they corrected.
Well, they started with a browser reader like years ago, like probably when they first started.
They did. I think that went away, dude. I don't know that it's back.
I don't think you can.
Like, I read a bunch, and then I could have sworn it because I just pulled screen prints off of a book the other day. But yeah, regardless, I don't know. My problem is I have the unpopular opinion of, like, my least favorite thing to do at the comic book store is to buy comics, just because.
I mean, I get that.
I mean, well, like, and I get it. Comics retail is hard, and there's nothing financially incentivizing comic retailers to give you any kind of discount or to, you know, financially compete with online sources. And, you know, I love Legend, but I say Legend is the number one supplier of volume 2s everywhere.
Well, and Legend is also providing an experience, not like people go to Legend not necessarily because of the comics.
Yeah,
right.
JD, there is no browser reader. There's a Chrome extension that will allow you to do it, but there is no official.
Oh, really? You have to
reader.
download a Chrome extension.
That's so dumb. Yeah, I can get online.
But that means that some developer was like, "I'm so sick of this."
Yeah.
And they developed a way to make it happen.
But I can get online and I can buy a car in one click. You don't think about that. You can get online and buy a goddamn car easier than you can a digital.
And according to
book.
Jim and your wife, you should.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, I've always said that. Like, I always thought that the ideal digital comics buying and selling experience should be I should be able to go to Legend, and if they don't have a comic I want, they should be able to offer to sell me a CBZ file. And
they tried,
you know,
that.
like with
that was a thing
like
for a minute.
with like a QR code, and like buy a CBZ file of that same comic, and then I own it, and then I can read it on whatever CBZ reader I want.
That was a thing for a minute. Unfortunately,
yeah.
The reason
there was they tried to make that happen with like I don't think that there was a whole separate machine or anything like that, but it was essentially like a kiosk inside a comic book store where you could purchase a digital comic through your local retailer and they would receive a small cut and then you would have your digital comic. And it was so universally hated by every comic book retailer because comic book retailers are a cowardly and superstitious lot that it went away almost immediately.
Yeah. It's just silly. It's just silly. And the problem lies in the fact that there's no money.
I 100% agree. I think that there should be you should be able to browse like you should be able to go into a comic book store and find like a device like a Touch Tunes or whatever. Yeah, and just like browse through digital offerings.
I'm sorry, that's insane. Yeah. That's insane, you guys. Look, everything is on the web. Like everything. I should be able to walk into my office, get on my computer, and buy any comic book I want.
You're right. Yes, Matt, you're right.
You know, Like,
I want
For
that
people
too.
that want to support their local comic book store but don't want to read physical comics,
I understand that.
that should also be an option.
Go there and buy toys and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, like, there's just no good way to do it, and there's no money in it, and that's why no one's doing it.
Right.
There is no money to develop
Well-
this shit. Like, they look at it and they go, man. That's why Amazon is letting Comixology die because they don't make shit on it, more or less. Right? I mean,
Right.
it sucks, but that's how it is.
Well, but
Yeah,
I mean, but they're not letting the digital comics die. You know, they've got they've
because
already
they-
got a
it's-
digital reading infrastructure. Is the
Yeah.
reason why Comixology is dying?
Sure.
It's because Kindle, no matter how well regarded Comixology is or was, it will never be as famous as Kindle.
No,
Right.
but
and the fact that with things like the books, what is it, the books Onyx C and things like that, they're talking about putting there's actually the technology now for a color e-ink reader.
I'm sorry, what? Say that again.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, there's a company out there called Books that has a color e-ink reader.
What does
now.
that? What's that mean?
What is an
So-
e-ink reader?
A Kindle.
Oh,
E-ink. Okay, so e-ink is basically
It-
pushes the
It's a
picture.
Kindle.
to it's a
so it's a
static-
Kindle. It's a
static
color
image.
Kindle rival.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a color Kindle rival. that comes
okay,
in
I
a-
get
comes
it.
in a 10
So it's
that
not
comes in a
back
10-inch.
and doesn't burn your
Yeah,
eyes.
and it comes in a 10-inch screen. So
I'm gonna stick
Oh
with,
damn, that's like
comic.
iPad. That's like
I would
iPad.
love that.
iPad Pro size.
gonna stick with my iPad for
Yeah.
now. But I mean, like, it is what it is, unfortunately. And like, look, if you want to support your comic store, go buy comics. That's the best way on it. And even when they did the digital
Matt,
shit, it was a
like it's easy to be
pittance.
cynical, and I agree. And these retailers are like, as much as I am not for the corporatization of everything, there is something to be said for every single Walmart being the same.
Well, sure.
But they will never get 4,000 comic book retailers to agree on anything.
No, absolutely not.
No.
And
like
it was
there are comic book retailers that still think today that Free Comic Book Day is a bad thing.
oh yeah.
But in a perfect world, there would be a way for a person who wants to read digital comics to support their local comic book store.
In a perfect
And
world,
still buy digital
some of the
comics.
most popular comics on the stands would be selling more than 5,000 copies across the United States.
I agree. Like two things can be true.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, there would have never been a comic book market crash in the 90s,
Sure.
and we would be talking about millions of people reading Superman instead of tens of thousands.
We wouldn't be having any of these conversations, but here we are. So what can you do? All right. We got a couple minutes left. What was our question of the week? Was it deaths of heroes or villains that hit you?
The fictional death that had the most impact on you. Yeah.
And I caught up on X-Men 97 this morning. And like, look, yeah, it was good. It was really good. I didn't cry my eyes out like a lot of people. It was the saddest.
Because you don't care about Gambit.
No, I don't care about Gambit.
Yeah. I figured you were celebrating.
Like I said,
I
best
figured
thing
you were
ever
like doing the happy dance.
No, I was just, I
Best
mean,
thing
like,
he ever did was die.
it was touching,
Damn, Frank,
whatever.
Gambit
was in that show.
And it was a cool way to use his powers. I like that. Like, he was like, oh, you stabbed me? All right, charge up and bow, But at the same time, it's like, shouldn't Master Mold know that he does stuff like that? I don't know. Keep him at bay, Don't grab that dude.
I mean, he's a dumb robot.
I
Master
guess.
Mold's got one
I
job:
guess.
make Sentinels.
I don't know if
I
you
have to
remember,
admit,
but there was a funny scene in the first anime series where they flood, where Massimo was in Genosha initially, and then he couldn't get out because he looked back. He says, "Oh no, I'm plugged in," and then he just
Plugged
blows up
in?
afterwards. That was in the animated series, the original. He looked back. He's like, "Oh no, I'm plugged in," and then he just dies.
So, does anybody have an answer for the question of the week? There were good suggestions in the chat, but go ahead, JD.
I've got a couple. So I've started out like thinking in TV because, like most Marvel readers, I'm a little jaded when it comes to hero deaths because it's like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts.
Sure.
The one I was going to say is a spoiler for a TV show. Does anybody care about spoilers for The Magicians?
No.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Quentin Coldwater's death.
Quentin dies, huh?
Season 4. Yeah, he
Spoiler,
the main character, the main character from the beginning of the series.
Yeah,
bites it at the end of season 4, and they don't retcon it. They don't bring it back. The entirety of season 5 is basically about the remaining characters kind of coming to terms with it, and it's a really, really
I gotta catch up.
It's a poignant death. I love the way they have him do it. It's so cool. So definitely I like that one, but I did think of one in comics, Ultimate Peter Parker.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a real good one. Yeah. That was a real good one.
Especially if you, I mean, besides the whole like bringing Miles about and all of that, I think for me, what was more poignant about it was for the Ultimate Universe supposedly being this updated Marvel Universe and being supposedly a little more realistic. Then 14-year-old kids, spider powers or not, if you're going to go up against something that's equivalent to the Hulk, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Exactly. Right.
Totally.
I love the idea that it did install this idea of stakes in the superhero universe.
Yes.
That people are going to die, and when you do this, unfortunately, it did later lead to Ultimatum, and that was not great, but yeah, it was.
Just say my favorite death was when the Blob ate the Wasp. That was my favorite death. I was just like, oh
no. Ultimatum came before. Ultimatum came before because there was a whole thing where J. Jonah Jameson witnessed Peter Parker trying to save people from a flooded New York City.
Oh, that's right.
And he was like, I was so wrong about Spider-Man. And yeah.
Ultimate Fallout came after the death of Peter Parker in Ultimate Universe.
Ultimate Fallout, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, the ultimate late stage Ultimate Universe, it's a crapshoot. But
remember Wolverine's son, blonde-haired son?
Oh,
yeah,
Jimmy. Yeah.
Oh, I hated Jimmy. God, I hated
He gave me the 616 for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah, he was there. He was there for a second. Yeah.
Well, because he was on that version of like the Exiles or whatever, right? One of the
Champions.
Teen reboots of the. He was in the Champions.
He was in the Champions.
He was on the Champions for a hot minute.
Hey.
Stupid. Death of Captain Marvel in the Mosaic fan art. Death of Captain Marvel. That is a hard one to beat.
Yeah.
Like, dude, and again, the reality of like, okay, a superhero gets cancer and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, cancer.
Die.
Right.
You know, that stakes, man.
For me, the death of Supergirl in Crisis #7 was probably my first real exposure to like a big comic book death, because it was 1985, and so because she sacrificed herself to save literally everything, and then she gets to like say goodbye to her cousin, and her arm drops to the ground, and you get to see his reaction. It's like it's a big, powerful, emotional moment. Death of Buffy's mom was one that came to mind immediately because it was so shocking and sudden. Yeah. Like it came out of literally out of nowhere.
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
Yeah, that was good because there was no villain did it. Nobody killed her.
Like what Matt was talking about. It's like
she got killed.
It was a completely mundane issue.
I always like that sort of like. I mean, like, it's one thing of like, oh man, they stabbed that hero in the face and he died during the fight. Like, look, you're fighting, you could die. But the stories where it's like someone just died, they got sick and they died. Yeah. Like, it brings this real world element into things where you're like, oh shit, like, that's
it creates a villain you can't punch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So Joe and I were talking to a buddy of ours earlier this week when they announced the Avengers Aliens, and it was just like, okay, whatever. Like maybe it'll be fun. Like Hickman's writing it, so it'll probably be good, but it's not going to be like anything in the real MCU because you can't have like an alien burst out of Captain America's chest and that's in continuity or something. Right?
The Brood exists.
I mean, like
the Brood exists,
and you already have the Brood. Wait. Let me finish this thought. So, but with that in mind, you can do Aliens crossovers where you do kick ass shit, and Warren Ellis did it in the pages of Wildcats aliens and Stormwatch aliens. And my answer to the spirit of the question with Gambit's heroic sacrifice, when Winter drives the ship into the sun because he's just
it was just the one. There wasn't a Stormwatch alien.
Oh, that's right.
It was
Wildcats.
Wildcats versus aliens is really a Stormwatch comic.
It was outstanding because he's just like, we lost.
The Wildcats are all dead.
These things are not getting out of here. There's nothing we can do. I am driving this ship into the sun. And it was
he pilots
hard.
He pilots Skywatch into the sun.
It was amazing. It's such a great book, and that was like one where they were like, well, yeah, we're going to do this crossover with aliens, and we're going to actually murder some characters, and the aliens are just out there in the universe, and
the death stuck. Like they never mentioned, like they never talk about like, oh man, do you remember when Fahrenheit got impaled by the tail of a xenomorph? It's like, no, she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing, and you can do stuff like that, but it's safer to just do. Okay, I don't know if Predator Wolverine was in continuity or not, to be honest, but
no,
they did stick the Predator in a lot of like Wolverine's real continuity in that book. I don't know if it's the same, but they're not going to do it with Avengers aliens, of course. And it's like, come on, have some balls, guys.
They already said that Avengers versus aliens takes place in an alternate future, which of course it would have to, because the aliens takes place in the future. And so it will be familiar characters, but there's no continuity stakes to worry about. So, that could mean that you could have a xenomorph.
That doesn't mean it's not going to be a good story. I just care less when it's like, oh, okay, alternate future, none of this counts. Great.
I don't care about any comic book character when they tie it in, when they cross over with Predator or Alien or any other movie character, with any other licensed character, because that those comic books immediately have no stakes.
We just talked about one that did, though.
No, I know, but I think that was a fluke.
That's the exception to the rule, no question. But I'm saying there's no rules that say you can't do that. There's no rules. They just don't. Because obviously when Batman fights the Predator, he's not going to die, But
that's just it. It's like they're not going to. They'll do it with characters from Stormwatch because, with limited exception, most people don't give a shit.
Well, and Ellis created them, so he could do that.
They can get away with killing four characters from Stormwatch because they know that book is going away or getting relaunched.
Right, and they were his characters, so he can kill them. Whatever.
JD, it was a one shot that came between the end of Stormwatch Volume 1 and the launch of Stormwatch Volume 2, preceding which was before the Authority.
It was so good. God, it was so good. Frank, I can't even talk about the death of Spock oh my God. I can't go into it. It kills me every time.
And Data, believe it or not, Data's death in Picard really got me.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was really, really emotional, because
it was really good.
Like, here's the thing. I think it kind of undercuts the fact that they brought Brent Spiner. It undercuts it because they brought Brent Spiner back so many times. But
what's that third panel, Frank? I can't see. It's so small.
That's Aunt May.
Oh, that's Aunt May.
Yeah, that's Aunt May's death in No Way Home.
My mind refused to register that
was
at that
devastating.
Size.
Devastating. I'm not like some people are like, oh, the Tony Stark death. Oh, that really got me. I'm like, actually, that didn't, because that was like a great conclusion for that character.
Sure.
But
but the Aunt May death was really violent and really sudden. And there was something to, and she wasn't like, oh, Peter, I'll always love you, and I'll be watching from beyond.
No,
no, she's just like, she's talking and then she dies. Like, oh my God.
But he gets to have his Uncle Ben moment finally.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
As they say.
I do think it was kind of bullshit that they killed off Aunt May, but
agreed.
But I mean, it was a good scene. It's a good scene. I just don't know if I agree with the decision.
I don't know. I think mad props for killing off Aunt May. They should have done it in the comics 60 years ago. So,
Come on.
Aunt May is now 549, I think.
Well, she technically died, and then that led into a whole other bag of worms.
Right.
It was actually an actress that had flawless plastic surgery and was so good at her job that she fooled her own nephew.
Done with Aunt May. Look, I love the character of Aunt May. I am done with Aunt May. I don't ever need to read about Aunt May again. I'm done.
To Matt's point about these intercompany crossovers can have lasting change.
Yeah.
That it's just that they choose not to do it. And John says it as well in the chat. The Batman Spawn crossover is what gave Spawn that huge gash in his face that he had to lace up with shoelaces. That came from the end of Batman Spawn, where it ends with Batman throwing a batarang into Spawn's face.
But that's also all the Todd.
That was the origin of football face?
That's all the Todd.
Yeah.
Todd wants Batman to be inexorably linked to Spawn, and went as far in that last Batman Spawn to be like, oh yeah, Spawn is the reason the Batman is Batman. We're like, no, absolutely not. Get out of here.
But I mean, yes, but
I want to drown that idea in a toilet. That is so
the
dumb.
point is that you can have stakes in an intercompany crossover and have the last time I think the big two did it where it really ended up mattering in the short.
Given the fact that we found out that Batman learned his disappearing trick from Santa Claus, did he learn all of his cape tricks from Spawn?
I think
so.
Yeah, I think so.
The last time I remember the big two having intercompany interconnectedness where it actually impacted the main books for a while was during the amalgam era. Marvel versus DC introduced this character named Access.
Oh, yeah.
And he could travel between the two universes.
Didn't Access later become somebody else?
No, I don't think so. I just think he was.
I don't remember if he changed. Yeah, but he was there for a little bit. I do remember this.
So it all started with.
I was thinking of the Breach. That's what I was thinking of. That character that was like red and
Breach,
white.
yeah. Well, Breach was supposed to be the Captain Atom of Earth 9.
That's right. Yeah.
And then whatever. It all started with the Silver Surfer Green Lantern crossover by Ron Mars, where they introduced like this bum who has cardboard box, and the cardboard box is a portal between dimensions. And they bring that back in Marvel versus DC, and they revealed that the bum is this guy, Access, but from the future. And so those books, and then Access actually shows up in an issue of Green Lantern, in an actual proper issue of Ron Mars's Green Lantern. He pops in to Kyle Rayner's apartment, accidentally runs into Jade, and he's like, oh shit, I was looking for the silver guy. And then he bolts.
That book was so great, though. That Green Lantern Silver Surfer crossover.
That's a wonderful crossover.
It kicks ass.
Very good.
Yeah. Highly recommended. That book kicks ass. All right.
Silver Surfer, like Cyborg and Thanos as damn.
Yeah, it was great. All right. I got to bail. Keep talking if you guys want. Good gang hang. Always nice to see everybody. But right now, this is Matt Baum. I don't know if Joe Patrick's leaving, but this is the Two-Headed Nerd signing off. We just do that for the show. So whatever.